Hey everybody, it's your girl Planet Tot on deck. I hope you guys are having a great day, afternoon, and or evening whenever you guys are seeing this. So, what would it take for you to confess to a murder that you had previously gotten away with? So, stay on deck with me as I tell you what it took for Christine to confess to the murder of her husband, Charles Billis. Okay, so thank you guys so much for being back on deck. Without further ado, let's jump right into this story. So, 54-year-old Christine Billis was born in 1967 and lived in Vermont with her husband Charles and their 2 kids. Christine lived in Brownstown community where her neighbors and friends felt she was living a good life. Quote, "They were a nice family," neighbor Leah Whiten said. On a clear sunny day in September 2009, Christine was driving with her husband Charles in Charleston, Vermont, when the car suddenly swerved into a towering pine tree. Investigators initially attributed the crash to a previously undiagnosed medical condition that they believe caused Christina to black out at the wheel. Christina, who was belted in, was treated for minor injuries. Charles, unbelted, was badly injured and pronounced dead on arrival at the hospital. So already, we have what some might describe as a perfect couple. Everything seems fine and great, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, tragedy struck. So it was reported that Charles was not feeling well on the day of the crash, but he insisted that he did not want to miss a previously scheduled appointment. Reports state that Charles was legally blind, so Christina was responsible for getting the couple to and from wherever they needed to be. So already, as we begin to crack this story open, we see that there is, we see the dynamic of kind of how the relationship goes, right? If somebody is legally blind and you are their significant other, the expectation is for you to be able to take care of them and pick up the pieces and keep the ball rolling, so to speak, right? Okay, so on April the 25th, 2011, Billis told Trooper Anise that she had ovarian cancer and had had a hysterectomy in June 2009. She said a lot was going on that year and she had extreme emotional and mental issues. Billis allegedly told Anise Charles was abusive to her, and at one point she left him, but she returned because he promised to change. Now, Anise is an investigator, right? So what we're looking at now is the crash happened, right? The car crash happened, and there's an investigator who's asking questions about the crash named Anise. These are the statements that Christine Billis is saying to the investigator. In a separate conversation, Billis told Anise that Charles was abusive to her and the children. She said a few times that she and Charles were mutually abusive to each other, but there was no serious injuries. In 2009, at the intersection of Line Farm Road, both of their lives would be forever changed. So we have a relationship where a couple is openly abusive to one another, says Christine. Now, unfortunately, these statements was made by Christine after her husband Charles had already departed. At the scene, not long after the single car crash, emergency responders rushed Christine to North County Hospital, where she was treated for her non-life-threatening injuries. Her groom did not fare so well. Trapped in the car's mangled wreckage, he had to be extracted, and medical personnel pronounced him dead on arrival. In the ensuing accident investigation, Vermont State Police noted the dry weather conditions and eliminated speed as a crash factor. The accident happened in Pamela Hellenick's front yard. She says she remembered vividly. Quote, "I went over to get the mail because you usually do. I went and I looked at the hole again and thought about how that poor man died," she explained. So investigators, they're looking into this thing and they're saying, okay, the car crashed into a tree. How did this happen? What could have been the effects of this? If it was raining, if it was hailing, if it was snowing, clearly that could have imposed some visibility issues that definitely could have caused the crash. But as they were looking into this, they said, well, you know what? It was a bright sunny day. There was nothing going on. The only reason that the car should have crashed is if one, if it malfunctioned, or if two, there was something going on with the driver or passenger inside the vehicle. Let's get back into the story. So police say Christina and Charles Billis were traveling south on Route 5A in Charleston when their car hit a pine tree, less than 1/4 mile from their home in Brownington. It sounded like dynamite going off, said Raymond Helenek. The Helenek said they were sitting down for dinner when they heard the crash. So in the community, these people would be their neighbors, okay? And they're saying that they still remember it. They didn't actually see the car hit the tree, but they heard it as they were sitting down to have supper. And then they got up to go check, and that's what they saw. Only Christine Billis knew what really happened. That is, until she introduced herself to the glorious wild jungles of internet dating. You guys, light up the comments if you have ever dated somebody off the internet. Have you ever met someone on the internet you thought, hey, they're kind of cool, I wouldn't mind talking a little more and getting to know them, and then exchange numbers with them and just see how it goes, or how it went? Light up the comments and let me know if you have in your experience. I can honestly say I have met people that I have met on the internet. Experience can be quite interesting, but gotta be careful. Let's get back into this story. So fast forward 1 year later, Billis was shopping herself on the web dating site OkCupid. If you guys have ever heard of the dating site OkCupid, light up the comments and put it in there, where she electronically introduced herself to Kevin Leland. Over the following weeks, Billis and Leland got to know each other through phone chats and text messages. The courtship was still in its starter stages when Billis told Leland she wanted to share a secret with him. Now, you guys, I have never been the person who would be so trusting, especially of strangers you're just meeting, let alone somebody who you don't even know if they really are who they say that they are because they're online. So let's find out what else she did. She confessed to me remorsefully that she had killed her husband, said Leland. The car accident was no accident at all. Billis allegedly told Leland, knowing her husband wasn't strapped in, she had purposefully rammed her car straight into the monster pine. Blown away by the confession, Leland agreed to meet in person with Billis. Now, question mark, question mark, question mark. If somebody who you knew or was getting to know confessed to you that they had intentionally and purposefully killed their ex-spouse, one, would you share that information with authorities? And two, would you agree to meet with them in public to have more conversations on it? Light up the comments and let me know. During their meeting, Billis once again confessed to her husband's murder. Only this time, Leland was recording what she said. Despite death threats from Billis if he ever turned her in, Leland went to the police with his recorded confession. Police then obtained a search warrant and armed Leland with a wire to record more conversations between the two. So Leland goes to the police and says, hey, just met this lady online and she told me that she killed her husband. And the police said, oh yeah? Well, how do you know that? And what proof do you have? And he said, oh look, I went up and met with her and here's the recording. I have her own tapes in it. So the police said, oh really? Okay, so that's a good start. Let's get some more information and see if she was just pulling your train or not. So they get Leland to agree to having a wire put on him. And they say, now go meet her again and get the conversation going. And so he did. When police confronted her about the taped conversations, they say Billis eventually confessed saying, quote, I saw the tree. The crazy part was that was the most beautiful thing I had saw in my life. I couldn't take it anymore. Not gonna leave him with the kids. My intent was to kill both of us, end quote. So there's a car accident. a lot of that shocked neighbors and friends and family all the same, because a lot of people believe that the accident was truly just that, an accident. Only for Miss Billis, that is, to later say that she couldn't take it anymore. She pretty much wanted out of the relationship, and her intention was not just to kill her husband, but herself. The judge wanted Billis to be examined to determine her sanity at the time of the crash, as it was believed she had a history of mental illness, which would explain the thought process. Billis was charged with first-degree murder, violation of Title 13, Vermont State Annotated Section 2301. Billis was lodged at the Northern State Correctional Center in Newport. But here's an update. As of June 8th, 2019, Christine Billis was rearrested and faces new charges of domestic assault.
Well, a Northeast Kingdom woman that was sentenced for killing her husband in 2009 now has been arrested for domestic assault. 52-year-old Christine Billis took a plea deal in 2012 after allegedly driving her car intentionally into a tree in Charleston. Her husband, 57-year-old Charles Billis, was also in the car. He was killed. Billis claimed her husband was verbally and mentally abusing her and threatened to kill her. She was sentenced to 7 to 15 years in prison, but was released on furlough. Now, police say she assaulted her boyfriend of several months. Billis was arrested and will be back in court on Monday.
Police say Christine Billis assaulted her boyfriend at a home in Barton on a Friday afternoon. She was taken to the North State Correctional Facility for a revocation of her furlough. All right, everyone, that's all that I have for you guys today. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode of True Crime, this story time. If you are new here, please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Tell anyone and everyone that your girl's out here telling the best true crime stories that you guys have ever heard of. Okay, sending light and love to the Billis family. If you guys would like to sponsor this story time or any other story time, you guys can do so by dancing on over to Cash App. Put in $ your favorite besties. That is equivalent to giving me a cyber hug, and I love to be cyberly hugged. Okay, so thank you guys again so much for joining me. Like I always say, there's always another story to be told, but for now, bye.